Imagine a man who, on one hand, worked with the world's most dangerous agencies, CIA and DEA, but on the other hand, was secretly building an empire overflowing with money, power, and luxury. He owned private jets, yachts that sailed across oceans, and a network that spanned from Europe to America. People called him Brazil's Pablo Escobar, but in reality, he was even more dangerous, because he was playing a double game. His name was Paul Lir Alexander. This is the story of a man whose intelligence, cunning, and military training turned him into a super criminal. At one point, he was an agent for the agency, and simultaneously, a kingpin of the underworld. A man who infiltrated the government and used their own resources to build his empire. But the question is, how did a man with a military background, who could have used his skills to serve his country, end up becoming one of the world's most powerful drug traffickers? Paul Lir Alexander, known to the world as the Baron of Cocaine, was born in 1956 in a small town in Brazil. His childhood was marked by poverty and constant struggle. Survival itself seemed like an achievement. Yet Paul had something different, an unyielding mind that constantly thought about turning even the harshest circumstances into opportunity. This very quality would define his rise in the years to come. As he grew older, Paul joined the military, where he learned discipline, strategy, and the art of warfare. He later traveled to Israel to receive advanced intelligence and surveillance training. It was during this time that he also made contacts within the CIA. For a while, he assisted them on missions, learning that information and networks were the ultimate forms of power. However, when he attempted to settle into a normal life, he realized that real wealth and luxury existed elsewhere, in the dangerous world of smuggling and the drug trade. In the 1980s, Paul took his first steps into the drug world. Initially, he acted as a middleman, helping cartels with safe routes and technology, but his intelligence background set him apart. Gradually, he understood that true power lay in controlling the logistics and shipments themselves. He formed partnerships with Colombian cartels and turned Brazilian ports and airports into his operational hubs. Paul's shipments extended far beyond Brazil. Using private planes and modified containers, his cargo reached the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. Major U.S. destinations included New York, Miami, and Los Angeles, while Spain and Portugal served as key entry points to Europe. He often hid shipments inside luxury items like electronics and furniture, using specially designed compartments. His operation ran like a corporate empire, professional and meticulously planned, leaving very little trace of illegality. But Paul's true weapon was his skill at manipulation. Using his CIA contacts and intelligence training, he stayed always one step ahead of the authorities. Whenever new laws or regulations were enforced, he already had counterplans in place. When the FBI or DEA organized sting operations, he often knew their timing in advance. He maintained friendly relations with officials while secretly bending the system to his advantage. This manipulation became the backbone of his empire, allowing it to operate for years without collapse. Yet, as with all empires, a downfall awaited. By the mid-1990s, Paul's operations had grown so vast that they drew the attention of international law enforcement. Joint operations by the FBI and DEA slowly began to expose his network. His planes, shipments, and financial records were traced, and eventually, in 1993, he was arrested in the United States. Evidence against him was overwhelming, leading to a 31-year prison sentence. However, the most surprising twist in Paul's story came after he was sent to Brazil. He disappeared from custody, leaving behind a mystery that persists to this day. Some believe he successfully outsmarted authorities once again and is living in hiding, perhaps still controlling his empire from the shadows. Others consider his disappearance a legend, a story that keeps the name Paul Lir Alexander alive in history. The story of Paul Lir Alexander is more than the tale of a smuggler. It is the journey of a mastermind, a boy from a small town who became one of the most powerful figures in the illicit world, a trained spy who used his intelligence and manipulation to control entire systems, and finally, a man whose ending remains a suspenseful mystery. To this day, people wonder, is Paul still alive, or has his name become a legend surviving long after his disappearance?
The case may be closed, But criminology never sleeps. Like and subscribe at join Criminology and step deeper into the dark with us.